Welcome back to the next edition of the Draftstars NFL Show for Week 13 of NFL Daily Fantasy Action. I'm Smatho, here's Tom, and we are brought to you by Draftstars, Australia's #1 daily fantasy platform for your NFL Daily Fantasy Action. Week 13, the season is starting to get into crazy mode. Tom, welcome back to the show. How'd you go last week after a Lenny Fournette explosion?
Yeah, morning, Smatho. Coming to you from the bush again this week. Last week, yes, Lenny Fournette. I was very, very heavy on Chris Godwin. Basically no Fournette, I believe. So, yeah, as soon as that game started going sideways, I just shut it all down and went out on a bike ride instead.
No, it's no good. But yeah, myself, I thought I'd get a little bit freaky last week and go a bit of Jets action, but obviously that didn't pull for me through as well. But let's say I give a little shout out to Week 12's winner here on Draft Stars, which was G Sorrentino's 7-1, who did indeed have Leonard Fournette at 47 Draft Stars points. You also had Joe Mixon there, who's actually having a really good season for the Bengals at 35. But this particular lineup was just your classic stack here with a Indianapolis, Tampa Bay stack here with Wentz, Pittman, Doyle, and then bringing it back with Leonard Fournette. A great lineup. Ended up winning by nearly 12 points here, Tom.
Yeah, most weeks we see that kind of double stack with the bring back getting to the top. Obviously, this one's a perfect one in terms of leverage because Brady, Godwin, even Jonathan Taylor was kind of the popular way to play this game. So this kind of flipped it around with Fournette and then the Colts passing game. Didn't even need that much out of Pittman with Doyle and Wentz both going pretty well. So yeah, great lineup. And then obviously Odell was good. Debo and Jefferson mini stack and nailed the defense. So can't really pick much wrong with that lineup at all.
No, you can't pick much wrong because that won. $2,600. Let's have a look at the exposures here. Yeah, Chris Godwin, 47%. Obviously, he was in a great matchup with a cheap Brady as well. And they proceeded to chew up 16 points out of your $25,000 salary.
Yeah, it couldn't have gone much more wrong than it did. And they didn't really do anything wrong. Just everything broke well for Fournette and no one else got in on the action.
Ty Johnson was an interesting one. Obviously, I jumped on his bandwagon on the Jets game. He only scored 4 points. Dallas Goedert, we seem to be pumping his tires up every week, and a little 1 point there. Even the Texans defense, which was okay there at 6 points, but yeah, I think everyone who didn't have Godwin seemed to do pretty well. So, congratulations to G Sorrentino 7-1, your Week 12 winner. Congratulations for that one. But let's have a look at Week 13 of action, 11 games. We have 7 in the early window, 4 in the late. We are a 5 a.m. start. Another $30,000 prize pool, which is fantastic from Draftstars. It's great to see that the pools have been well supported throughout the season. Now we've got NBA. Now we've got Big Bash starting on Sunday. So that's, it's going to be a crazy time here on Draftstars in the next few weeks. Tom, let's have a look at the board for this week. I've got a new format for you. Tell me about your bet last week, which was obviously the Vikings. How'd that go?
Yeah, it didn't win. That's about all I choose to remember about that one.
Fair enough. Now, we've got a couple of games here with a 50.5 points total here from the books. There's a 49.5 with the Washington Raiders game with a small spread, so that could be a game to target. And then we've got a couple of games who've got some large spreads. The Bucks and the Jags and the Rams, they're at 12.5. First of all, what is your bet this week? Let's get that out of the way, and then we'll talk some fantasy implications.
Yep, I'm gonna go with the Chargers this week. Just kind of a similar slant to the Vikings in previous weeks, where I think they might be the better team in this matchup with the Bengals, and they're paying $2.40 at the moment. So, yeah, that seems good enough to me to have a little bet on that one.
Yeah, I don't mind the Chargers there. Like they weren't great last week, so hopefully it's a bit of a bounce back against Joe Burrow and the Bengals. What about fantasy implications? Because you could, look at that Chargers Bengals game as a particular good game for fantasy, but there's nothing really here that really stands out for me.
Yeah, that's right. I think that game fits the bill, and as you said, that Washington Raiders game are the kind of closer games with the higher totals. So, and I think we will talk about a few plays from those games later on that still might be a little bit sneaky. And then, yeah, obviously the Bucks and the Rams are going to have the highest team totals with those massive spreads. So you could get your stacks from those spots. They'll be priced up pretty well, though, so it won't be that easy to do. And then I was thinking maybe the Seahawks could be a sneaky one this week. I think everyone's giving up on them. 49ers are a little bit more banged up this week than they have been, so maybe we could find a bit of gold there in a lower total game.
Yeah, all right. I'll book that, Mark. I'll see how we go that next week. Let's have a look at the injuries. Yeah, significant injuries, but the thing is that Draftstars have already reacted to the majority of this news. Deebo Samuel, Dalvin Cook, DeAndre Swift, Daniel Jones, Antonio Brown, J.D. McKissick, and Jordan Howard are all out. Doubtful. There's a few that are doubtful this week. Waller, Tony, Fields, Robertson, Shepard, Sermon, and Philip Lindsay. And then the questionable tags include Murray, Hurts, Hopkins, Robinson, Henderson, Jacobs, Cooks, Beckham Jr., and so on. Yeah, so Draftstars have already reacted to the Cook news and pricing Madison up to a 15K. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but any of those there that affect the slate, or is it just like, yeah, we already knew about these guys earlier?
No, I think there are a few. Obviously, Deebo being out will open up something at the 49ers. I don't know if they have good enough players to be too confident about the minimum priced options there. Darren Waller out will be a big one, with Foster Moreau potentially stepping into a pretty big role. And then I feel like J.D. McKissick out could do some good things for Antonio Gibson in a game that we don't mind. So that could be one. And then I hadn't seen Daniel Jones before, but that just reminds me, if you want to play minimum price Mike Glennon, this could be the perfect week to try that one.
No. No, thanks. All right, let's get stuck into the board, into the lobby. $30,000 here on Draftstars. Talk about the pricing this week. Obviously, last week we had some, cheaper quarterbacks, and we were able to play, some really good value plays. But Draftstars just go, no more of that. What's going on here?
Yeah, they seem to have done it across the board, just tightened up the pricing screw even a little more than they did last week. Yeah, like I said last week, I like that. I think it means you need to work a bit harder to find the plays and get a bit more funky with your structure as well. So balanced, it's easier to play balanced on these weeks, but if you can find kind of enough playable duds, then you can jam in a few of the top guards as well.
All right. Hopefully it's a jamming kind of week. I like this notion here of jamming them in. All right. Position from position. So quarterback as we start here. Yeah, as I mentioned, the prices have gone up. Lamar Jackson leads the slate there at 17,690, which I don't mind against the Steelers. But I think the couple of things that we have to keep an eye on here is obviously Jalen Hurts is the first one. Obviously at 16,100, I think that's his highest price of the season so far. Only a 9.9 effort last week, and he does come in with a questionable tag. What we're doing with Hurts, is he actually hurt, or Sorry, pardon the pun. Uh, uh, obviously, he just runs the offense. Like if he gets in the red zone, he's trying to run it himself. He's got crazy rushing stats for the season. A matchup against the Jets, which seems to be a bit of a pushover. What are you doing here with Jalen?
Yeah, I said in my article I'm a bit off him this week, finally, after he's burnt me quite a few times. And I think the ankle is a pretty good excuse for that. But also just, him and the Eagles just aren't all that good in real life. He's got all the attributes that we want for fantasy, with the rushing, and he does sling the ball around a little bit, but never quite gets to the volume that we need. So I feel like as good as he looks on paper every week, and as good as the matchup looks, it just doesn't translate into like a slate winning score that often. So I'm kind of looking elsewhere, I think.
Okay. Now, on a slate where we don't have Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson obviously sticks out there at 17,690. Everyone was on the Tom Brady train last week. Do you think that people will still be on the train, or will there be some people getting off?
Yeah, surely people start to get off a little bit, because it's been, at least a month since we've seen too much from him. Yeah, but he's still Tom Brady, and the Bucks still, are in the good matchup this week. So I guess he'll still get a fair bit of ownership.
Anyone else at the top of the board here? Stafford looks like to be in a great matchup against the Jags, and like Herbert, as you mentioned, against the Bengals at 15,680 could be one to have a look at. Any of these up the top 5 or 6 that you quite high on?
Yeah, definitely. Just both those guys you mentioned, Stafford and Herbert. I like both of them. They have big arms. They can get the volume going if the game breaks the right way. So very much in play. But I think we need to consider some cheaper guys as well this week with the way the price is.
Right, I'll scroll down. All right. What are we looking at from the cheaper guys?
Well, let's just go right to the bottom. Not Mike Glennon, but a little bit higher. I'm definitely looking at Trevor Lawrence on the other side of that Rams-Jags game.
Yep.
I feel like for Stafford to get there, the Jags need to offer something and keep up a little bit. And in that case, I think Lawrence is possibly in play. Like, we haven't seen anything from him since week 1. Obviously, the team's going terribly, but they have sort of started to offer a little more in the last few weeks, trying to kind of adapt to Lawrence's style of play. It'd only take low 20s points and picking the right receiver to link him up with, and we might be able to get something there.
I'm a little bit worried about Donald and the Rams line getting to him, but yeah, you will sound like a genius if he goes up, because the wide receivers for the Jags on draft are so cheap too. So if you're going to correlate a little bit, then you can get to those other pieces which we can jam in. But yeah, I'll take you on that one. Matt Ryan there, I think at $700 more has a bit more potential against the Bucks. Bucks defense not exactly fantastic, so if you can get Pitts going and whoever else is left on the team there, that Matt Ryan's at 10,860. Apart from that, Derek Carr is kind of popping for me a little bit at 13,880. I think he's a little bit too cheap to come the matchup. I know was not out, so that could have question marks, so that could probably lower his ownership as well. But yeah, I like Jackson. I like Stafford and Herbert. I think they're my 3 core there. Let's move on. Let's go on to running back. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor leads the slate here, and I think he deserves it now at 18,110. 19.7, what we call a failure last week. That's fine. Thoughts on Taylor and the other top of the board running back options this week?
Yeah, you can't really say anything bad about Taylor these days. He's just put together 2 straight months of rock solid, even very, very good fantasy scores every week. So, obviously deserves to be at the top. And I think we still need to try and play him whenever we can, which we should be able to get away with this week with some cheap wide receivers we'll talk about. And the matchup, obviously, with the Texans is amazing. So try and get him in there, but also I think we need to have a look down below him and see if, this week's Fournette is there somewhere to break off 30 or 40 points and break the slate.
Now, as we mentioned, our injuries, no DeAndre Swift for the Alliance, which means you can bring in Jamal Williams. He's the number 2 there at Detroit. He's been priced at 11,240. Obviously, a little bit of run last week once Swift got off the ground for a 13.3 fantasy performance. What are your thoughts on Williams? Because you do like him on your article this week on Daily Fantasy Rankings.
Yeah, I think he stands out a little bit because of the way the Lions have used Swift, and you'd have to assume they're not that dissimilar players. So Williams should play the same role, get a fair bit of passing game work. And then, we've seen it in Green Bay before where he can step up when he's the top guy. So I do like him there, but there's a whole tier sort of between him and Elijah Mitchell. About 5-6 guys there: Antonio Gibson, Myles Gaskin, David Montgomery. We're all in that tight $11,000 tier. All have similar upside. All have kind of middling matchups. And I reckon we're going to have to find at least 1 or 2 great plays in that tight group of 5 guys. So that's where my focus is this week.
What about at the top? Alexander Madison here at 15,130. I'm only looking at the games when Cook doesn't play. And what's what we got here? 29.3, a 26.1. They're the 2 standouts. That's why he's been priced up at 15,000. A Detroit matchup who, if the Vikings get in the red zone, seem to be looking at running back options. Is he on the radar?
Yeah, he obviously can get it done, and the matchup's really good. But I guess for now my focus is on that $11,000 range, and then trying to get up to Taylor, or maybe taking a shot at like a Najee Harris or a Saquon Barkley, who should both be pretty unique. I'm not sure. Do you think people will play Madison at that price?
Not as many as I would think, but he'd be a great tournament play. So that's why I've kind of brought that up, because obviously Fournette last week, he goes gangbusters for 47. If you had a choice between those 2, and if you had the cash for that, and you can't get up to Taylor, thinking, I'm going to save $3,000 here, you find that more people click on Fournette than anything. So, I like him. I think he just has that upside when Cook's not available, that the Vikings still want to use him. They know he's a really good player. He's not like a dodgy backup. He's a legit player. So I do like it, but I don't think many friends will come along. I don't think many on this video will say, "Oh, Smatho's he's onto a winner here," until I say, "Yes, you should have been on it last week." We talked about the 11K range, which you really like. Is there anyone below that range that we consider? I don't think I have anything that I can look at.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much why I like it so much, because there's just nothing down below. So that is the cheap value this week, 11,000. I don't know, maybe Kenyon Drake or something, but there's nothing to get excited about down there.
All right, let's look at wide receiver. Do we want to talk about the cheap value to start with? Because obviously you can pair up your quarterbacks, you correlate, as you should be doing. Who's the cheap people this week so we can jam them in?
Yeah, so the 2 I've written up are DeAndre Carter and Josh Reynolds. Reynolds is quite new at the Lions. He only had 1 proper game there, I believe. So he's kind of fallen into a role where he's almost the favorite target, it looks like, for Jared Goff. Obviously not too exciting being the best target at the Lions right now, but it's something at minimum price where he can catch a deep ball or just get a little bit of volume. And Carter, DeAndre Carter at Washington has had a good role for about a month now. And he just keeps producing with it. I think he's had 3 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks. And just gets those kind of 5+ targets each week. That one's a little bit more sketchy with Curtis Samuel back from injury. I think De'Ami Brown might be coming back. Adam Humphries might be getting fitter. So a little more up in the air, that one, but I do think he's kind of earned a role. And he's still the return man, so that's something as well.
I quickly want to touch on the Jags. Obviously, I want to show you how cheap they are. So you've got Marvin Jones Jr. at just at 8,500, Chenult's at 8,300. So if you are going that Lawrence path, that's why they're pretty cheap this week. Let's talk about the top of the board then. Cooper Kupp, 18,530. Seems to be okay the last few weeks. Hasn't had that massive 25+ game in his past 4, 2 out of the last 4. If you have the cash, will you be paying up for Kupp?
Yeah, I feel good about that this week. Kind of, I guess, with the likes of Taylor and Mixon going nuts and now Fournette, people might focus on spending up more at running back. And can't write off Kupp after what we've seen. He's won a slate probably 5 times this season already. So I don't think that's over for the season. It's a great matchup. Price has come down a tad from last week. Obviously, it's still huge, but 40 points will win you the slate at any price. So, I'll try and fit him in.
Let's talk about what's happening at the 49ers. Obviously, no Deebo Samuel. What's going to happen here? So, Braden Ayuk, his price has come up. Obviously, he's starting to get more work, more targets, and obviously it's turning that into fantasy points. So he's at 12,980. Is there a second guy in the receivers, or is it just Ayuk and George Kittle?
Yeah, well, according to those tags there, the next guy is Juwan Jennings and then Trent Sherfield. We did see Sherfield do a bit at the start of the season when Ayuk was well and truly out of favor. So, he'd probably be the first guy I'd consider. Just not feeling too excited about any of them at the moment.
Fair enough. Any other spots here? Wide receiver. Now we can always talk about the Bucks again. They didn't do much. Obviously, Godwin didn't do much last week. Evans is at 15,090. Godwin's now at 14,710. Again, another popular spot.
Yeah, it probably will be, but the pricing's, I'm not going to get too excited about it, other than kind of betting on the bounce back week. I think I mentioned maybe the Seahawks as a very unique opportunity. Both Metcalf and Lockett are a bit cheaper than usual. Obviously, things just aren't going well there, but Wilson's been back for a month now. Their season's basically over, but they seem to still want to play for something. So maybe I could have a shot at them. And there was one that I just saw with Robinson out for the Bears. Maybe Darnell Mooney and Andy Dalton hook up again like they did last week. 10,500. That's a surprising price for Mooney for me. So he's one that I could have a bit of a focus on as well.
Yeah, you stole my thunder there. Yeah, Mooney, I like a lot. It's all right. I was going to go through my sneakies. Yeah, Mooney there at 10,500. I think that's fantastic. Look, Andy Dalton's going to start. Fields is no good. Robinson's they're doubtful. So yeah, I think it's a great spot for you, like your third or maybe your flex kind of position there. And the one other one I was going to talk about is obviously we know Wall's doubtful, but if he doesn't play, Hunter Renfrow, 12,310 is a little bit on more expensive side than normal, but I think that's a solid floor play there. He's 24.6 last week, which is fantastic. Got the bonus. No touchdowns. If you can get a tutty, then happy days. So, any other options there you want to quickly touch on before we move on?
That's about it for me, I think.
Excellent. Very good. All right, tight end. So this one, with Waller's doubtful, so we'll assume that he doesn't play. The guys have been priced up. Like usually we're under the 10K range, and then all of a sudden we're all over 10K again. So Andrews, Kittle, 12,850, 13,000. Gronk, it's been chucked another $4,000 on his salary. He's now at 12,800. What's going on here? Obviously, with no Waller, we have to look up who backs up at the Raiders, don't we?
Yeah, that's about all I can kind of focus on at tight end this week. As you said, everyone has been priced up. There's even a hint of a role, any volume, they're up over 10K, so that's hard to get excited about. Foster Moreau, we've seen one good game this season so far. I think Waller actually played there, but maybe he was banged up or something. So he does have it in him, and with everyone priced up, like he probably doesn't even need to go 2 times his price to be a good play. Just gives you that salary relief. Probably pretty safe to get 4 or 5 catches, I'd say. Just hope for a touchdown and happy days there with him, I think.
Yeah. Look, it's a bit hard to swallow to spend 12,000 on a tight end. Kyle Pitts does pop for me a little bit at 10,500. So if you can get to him, he does have a ceiling. We haven't seen it for a month though. So if we get in the shootout with the Bucks, then Pitts is going to be fully involved there. I'm just about done with Goddard, but I think we have to keep riding him until he gets us over the line. Even Pat, my man Pat's there at 10,060. Like he has a great role now. But I think Ingram's back in. Is that right?
I believe so, and still down around that $7,000 mark.
Yeah. So where is he? He's at the Giants, isn't he?
It'll be a great Mike Glennon stack up.
Yeah. You keep going about this Glennon bloke. I'm not sure what's going to happen there. Any other tight ends here? I know this is pretty crappy this week.
Yeah, honestly, like I said, I'm finding it hard to do anything other than just lock in Foster Moreau.
All right, enough said. Special teams and the defense. You're actually quite keen on one team this week. Are you still keen as you were a couple of days ago on the Dolphins?
Well, yeah. After all these Glennon jokes, I have to say the reason I'm keen on the Dolphins is Mike Glennon, and the Dolphins have just been playing a lot better. Like their whole identity last season was defense, and especially how good their secondary was. That didn't come into this season, but their guns have gotten fit, their cornerbacks, and they've been playing really well again the last few weeks. So that just looks like the perfect spot to me. A little bit of a discount from the top options, bad quarterback, and playing well. So hard to look past that, but there are a few others either side of them as well.
Yeah, Ravens and the Buccaneers. I think they're 2 good ones if they get out to a good lead, or manage to get some recoveries in terms of interceptions or fumbles and things like that. They're probably the 3 in my sweet spot. Possibly, maybe the Bears. They seem to be. They've got Arizona. If Kyler Murray doesn't get another start, that could be a good matchup there at home. 4,490. Maybe a flyer on the Texans. I mean, if the Colts have a bad day, okay, 4,000 maybe.
Yeah.
If you're struggling for cash, just throw them in and then hopefully just see if they can get 5 points or more.
Yeah, my spend down team is probably the Jets, and it's based mostly on just talking about being off Hurts finally, being off Goddard finally. Let's double down on that and just hope that things go wildly wrong and the Jets defense can rack up double digits.
Oh, look at the hot takes for the defense. We love it. Love it. All right.
What a week.
What a week. Now, summertime. We officially reached summer. So here down in Hobart, the pool's finally been cleaned, ready to go. And it's just starting to get a little bit busy. But we had, La Nina's been pounding us with rain. But anyway, I digress. It's time for the party pool. Here we go. All right, this week, top of the board, Brady and Jackson. Down the bottom of the board, Ryan and Lawrence. And then in the middle, I've got Derek Carr for running back. Taylor Williams, Gibson. I reckon he's in a nice matchup, as you said, with Mitchell and Madison as my sneaky. Cup, Reynolds, Mooney, Jones Jr., Chenault if you're going the Lawrence track, Renfro, Evans, and Godwin if you're going the Brady side. Pitts, Morrow, Ingram, and Godert for the final time, hopefully. And then the Bears, the Dolphins, and the Texans. Now, mate, a lot of sport coming up. So, dailyfantasyrankings.com.au for all your NFL previews from myself and from Tom. Final thoughts before we get out of here.
Not too much on the slate. My mind's kind of already shifting to Big Bash season, so fired up for tonight. And yeah, obviously I'll be up early tomorrow morning again, trying to make some better decisions in the NFL.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you for all your insight this week, Tom. Make sure you get to draftstars.com.au for all your NFL daily fantasy. We'll be back for week 14 next week. Share us a like, send us a comment, say good day to us, and we'll look forward to catching your viewership next week. Thanks, Tom.
All right. Thanks, Smatho. See ya.